Hey mathematics learners, welcome to Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. So in the previous video tutorial, guys, we had a look at question 4.1 as well as question 4.2, and I actually decided that I want to just separate these questions from question 4.3 because with question 4.3, guys, we're going to be dealing with a break-even analysis, right? So I felt like it was just disconnected from those questions, so I think it was going to be best for me to just separate it, right? And like I mentioned in this video tutorial, guys, we're going to be dealing with just question 4.3, where we basically going to be having a look at an extra D to help us answer questions that are given to us. All right. So here we're going to be basically defining what is a variable cost, right? I'm going to be defining what is a fixed cost is, right? I'm going to be explaining what is a break-even point, okay, and how we can use basically the break-even point to help us determine whether a profit or a loss occurs. All right, so before you get started with today's video tutorial, guys, please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Please make sure that you click on that notification bell so that you get notified every single time I upload a new video tutorial, guys. And also, please don't forget to give this video tutorial a huge thumbs up because that really helps the channel grow and it helps the channel to reach more learners that want to better their mathematics marks. Also, guys, if you really want to help the channel grow in terms of its quality, please also consider being a part of the Maths Gang fam, right? Because that is also another way that you guys can help the channel grow. Okay, so without any further ado, guys, let's get started with today's video tutorial. So in question 4.3, right, we're going to be doing some break-even analysis. Very nice question. So please make sure that you pay attention. Question 4.3 says Itumeleng has the following expenses for his birdhouse business, right? Rental of the stall at the flea market. So for him to rent a stall at the flea market, he needs to basically pay 250 per week. Okay. He pays 100 rand per week towards transport. The wooden boards are equal to 287 rand and 40 for a bundle of 6 boards. Okay, so you need to be careful with this information here, right? Here they basically tell us, right, that for a bundle of 6 boards, okay, he basically needs to pay 287 rand and 40. And you need to remember from the questions that we've basically looked at in question 4.1, they mentioned that he needs just one board to create one birdhouse, right? So if here they're talking about a bundle of 6 boards, right, you need to now then determine then how much will it be for just one board. Okay, so you need to think along those lines. Okay, and remember with these questions where you've got a story that is being told about Itumeleng building a birdhouse and assembling this birdhouse and whatever, you need to take into consideration the information that was given to you when the story began. Okay, in this case, that is the story about the board house, right? That he actually, I mean the birdhouse, right? And the fact that he just needs one board, okay, to basically assemble or create one birdhouse. Okay, so take that's very important. Don't make a mistake there. Okay, and then they say that for how much he pays for paint, right? He pays 21 rand and 40 cents for a birdhouse. And then for sundries, he pays 10 rand and 70 for one birdhouse. Okay, so all of these expenses for your wooden boards, your paint, sundries are for a birdhouse, right? The only thing here is this one is given for 6 boards. Okay, so you need to now think that, okay, for us to basically get what the price will be for a board or for one board, you just need to then take that 200 and you'll just take that 287.40 and you're gonna divide that by 6 to get what the price will be for one board. Okay, all right, and then that's fine. It says use an extra D and the information above to answer the questions that follows. All right, question 4.3.1. It says the equation to calculate his weekly expenses can be written as follows. So we're given the equation that Itumeleng uses to calculate his weekly expenses. Okay, and we are told that the expenses are equal to 350 plus P multiplied by the number of birdhouses made. Okay, and we are told that the P stands for the variable cost of each birdhouse. Okay, it's the variable cost. Okay, variable for each birdhouse made. Okay, so we need to show question A, right, how the value of 350, his fixed weekly cost, was calculated, right? So they're really telling us that his fixed weekly cost is 350, right? How was that value calculated? Okay, so what is the fixed weekly cost? Okay, so because here we're talking about the weekly cost, right? What are his weekly expenses? Okay, so with mathematical literacy, it always guides you on how you need to answer your questions, right? Look at the wording. What is being emphasized, right? And in this case, we want to show how the value of 350, which is the fixed weekly cost, was calculated, right? And then when we basically look at the information that is given to us, what are the weekly costs, right? And the weekly costs are what? It is the rental of the stall, right, at the flea market, which is 250 per week. That is the first weekly cost. Okay. Then we are also told, right, the other weekly cost that he has, okay, or weekly expense that he has, is the 100 Rand per week. Okay, so his weekly costs, right? For us to get his weekly costs, you just take the 250 and for the rental per week, and you plus that with the 100 Rand for the transport to get his weekly costs. And that is how they basically calculated the 350 Rand for his weekly cost. Okay, so let's quickly do that. Okay, and we said that the rental per week is 150 plus the transport that he pays per week is equal to 100. Therefore, his weekly costs, if you punch that into your calculator, is equal to 350. So that is how it was calculated. Okay, let's have a look at the next question. Question 4.3.1a. Calculate the value of P, the variable costs of making one birdhouse, right? So for us to be able to calculate the value of P, we need to understand what is the variable cost, okay, for making one birdhouse, right? And for me to just backtrack a little bit, right, going back to question A, right, when we talk about the fixed costs, right, when we're talking about a fixed cost, we are talking about costs that do not change, okay? They stay the same every week. And in this case, he needs to pay the rent. He needs to pay transport. It is a fixed cost, right? But when you look at question B, when you talk about variable costs, right? If something varies, it changes, okay? And in this case, okay, the number of bird houses that he makes can change. Okay, maybe this month he will decide that he wants to just make 7 bird houses, right? The next month he decides that he wants to make 10. Okay, so depending on how many bird houses he wants to make, right, that cost, the variable cost, or that can basically change. Okay, so when we're talking about the variable costs, right, we're talking about the costs that change in proportion to what needs to be produced, such as material. And then I brought it back into the context of the birdhouse, right? That it'll depend on how many bird houses that he wants to produce, right? And that will determine his variable costs. Okay, right. So we need to calculate the value of P, the variable cost of making one birdhouse. So what are the costs that are involved for us to basically for Itumeleng, actually, not us, right, to make one birdhouse, right? How do we calculate that? Okay, so what are the variable costs? What are the materials that can change depending on the number of birdhouses that we'll need? Okay, so the wood affects the variable cost. Okay, the wooden board. Okay, right, the paint, right, and the sun dries. Okay, so all of those will basically so all of these costs are variable. They can change. Okay. So for us to get the value of P, we're just gonna calculate how much he will pay to basically make one birdhouse, right? By obviously taking the wooden boards, or taking the price of one wooden board plus the paint plus the sundries, and you're gonna add them all together. Okay. The P, okay, is equal to, remember this is P stands for your variable costs, right? Is going to be one wooden board, okay, because we want to determine what will the variable cost be to make one birdhouse, right? So we're going to just take the price for one wooden board plus the paint, because we're given the paint that he needs, or the price of the paint for one birdhouse, plus we're given the price that you'll need for sundries for one birdhouse. Okay, so what happens here? Remember, guys, I emphasize this point here. With this bullet here, we were given the price for 6 boards. However, we need the price for one board. Okay, so how can we do that? We're just gonna, for us to get the price for one board, you're going to take the 287.40 and you're going to divide that by 6. Okay, so you're going to take that 287 Rand and 40 and you're going to divide that by 6 to get what is the price for one board. Okay, multiplied by, I mean plus, right? The 21 Rand for the paint. So we're going to plus 21 Rand 40 for the paint that he needs for one birdhouse. And you're going to plus that with the 10 Rand and 70 cents that he will need for one birdhouse, right? So if you basically punch 287.40 divided by 6, you'll find that one wooden board, okay, is actually equal to 47 Rand and 90. Okay, so show this calculation, guys, right? Bits and pieces. Plus 21 Rand 40 plus 10 Rand and 70. Okay, and then if you punch this into your calculator, you'll find that the variable costs amount to 80 Rand. Okay, so his variable costs are 80 Rand and his fixed costs are 350 Rand. Okay, all right, and we are basically done. Okay, question 4.3.2, right, says that we need to explain break-even point in this context. Okay, so when we just backtrack a little and we just try to remember what it was that we were doing when we were doing a break-even analysis in our classes, right? And we basically had a look at this graph, right? Okay, when we're talking about a break-even point, we're talking about a point where your income and your expenses are equal. So if we had to basically look at this graph that is given to us here, where would we say that the income and the expenses are equal, right? So if we had a look at this graph and we had to basically find where our break-even point is, right? You guys would see that the break-even point is at this point here, right? Okay, because at that point, right, our income and our expenses intersect, are equal, right? So this point here, right, our break-even point helps us determine whether or not this business actually making a profit or is it actually making a loss. Okay, and we know that now values that are below the break-even point, right, basically tell us that now, okay, the business is running at a loss. Okay, and values that are above the break-even point basically tells us that your business is making a profit. Okay, so when we're actually doing a break-even analysis, because I actually forgot to give this definition at the start of my video tutorial, okay, because this section basically deals with us doing a break-even analysis, right, of this graph that is given to us. When we're doing a break-even analysis, right, break-even analysis is a graphical technique, right, that is used to determine at which point a business makes a profit. Okay, so in this case, we are using this graph to determine where is the business making a profit. Okay, how many items must I sell for me to make a profit? Okay, how many items do I sell, okay, for me to basically make a profit? Okay, and then for me to not make a profit, how many items should I sell? Okay, so we see that from this graph, okay, when you're basically selling like 4 items, you're working at a loss. When you're selling 2 bird houses, in this case, you're working at a loss. But now when you start selling maybe 10 bird houses, 8 bird houses, 12 bird houses, then now your business starts to make a profit. Okay. And that is the whole point of the break even analysis, right? We are just basically using this technique to help us determine where this business is making a profit or where this business is making a loss. So, to answer the question that is basically given to us here, right? This question is asking us, explain what is break even point in this context, right? Then now we need to use this graph or this context to help us explain what is a break even point, okay? And I've already explained that now. This is our break even point. And what is happening at the break even point? At the break even point, we see that, okay, the break even point, okay, occurs when Itumeleng has made 5 bird houses, right? And his expenses and income, right? Remember that is the intersection, and his expenses and income, right, amount to, okay, so now we need to see, so it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they're increasing by 100. So this is going to be 6, this is 7, this is 8, this is 9, right? So when his income and expenses amounts to, we can say that is 750. Okay, so we can say that in this context, he must make and sell 5 bird houses, and his expenses and income will be 750. Okay, so that's the first aspect. Okay, so the break even point in this context is that, or occurs when Itumeleng has made, okay, and then we said that it's 5 bird houses, and the income and expenses amount to 750, right? And I showed you how I basically obtained that, okay? Or you can even break even point is when the expenses for making, transporting the birdhouse and renting the stall is equal to the income from selling the birdhouse, okay? So you can either state it like that, or you can even just say will be correct, okay? Let us have a look at the last question. Question 4.3.3 says, during one of the weeks, Itumeleng made 15 bird houses, but only sold 12. Show by means of calculations if he made a profit or a loss for that week. So Itumeleng basically made 15 bird houses, right? So we need to basically determine what were the expenses, okay, that he basically had or made when he made 15 bird houses, okay. However, even though he made 15, so he made 15 bird houses, so we need to think of the expenses for 15 bird houses and only sold 12, so we need to think of the income of the 12, right? So we're going to use our graph to basically determine what are the expenses and what is the profit or the income, I mean. Okay, so if he made 15 bird houses, what is his expense? Okay, so I'm just going to quickly erase everything here. Okay, he made 15 bird houses, so that's 14, that's 15, that's 16. We're increasing by 1 unit, so that is that. Okay, then we want to read off the expenses from the y-axis, because we can see that on our y-axis we've got the amount in rands, okay, and then on our x-axis we've got the number of bird houses that were created by Itumeleng, right? And then here this graph basically shows the weekly income and expenses for making and selling the bird house. Okay, so we're gonna read off now what are the expenses for making, or how much he basically used when he made 15 bird houses, right? And I did mention that we're increasing by 100, so it's 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 2000. Okay, and we can see that this red region here, right, this red line, we can just say it's at position 1550, because it's between 1500 and 1600. So we can see that, okay, his expenses for making 15 bird houses is 1550, okay, is equal to 1550, right? That is the expenses, right? Because he spent that amount making these bird houses. However, he doesn't make an income from selling all of those 15 bird houses. However, he makes an income from only just selling 12 bird houses. Okay, so that is why that is basically his income. Okay, so we're going to interpret that from the graph. Okay, I'm going to use green. Okay, he only sold 12, so we're on the 12. We're going to go up to the line that tells us about the income. Okay, and then we're going to read that off. Okay, so from selling 12 bird houses, how much income did he make? Okay, so it's 1,500, 6, 7, 1,800. Okay, so he made an income of 1,800. Okay, 1,800. So we're gonna write that down. Okay, and the question just wants us to show if he made a profit or a loss for that week. So for us to determine if he made a profit or a loss, right? To determine the profit is equal to your income, the money that you get, minus the money that you spent, okay, making your product. Okay, so what is the income? It was 1,800 minus what was the expenses? 1,550. If you punch it into your calculator, you'll find that his profit was actually equal to 250. So he made a profit. Okay, or we can also just use our okay, and we can also just confirm if this is actually correct, because I did mention that. Okay, values that are above, okay, for Itumeleng to basically work at a profit, right, he needs to basically sell number of bird houses that are actually more than 5. Okay, so he needs to sell 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 above, more than 5. And because he sold 12 bird houses, right, then that means that he did in fact make a profit and not a loss, because he sold bird houses that are actually more than 5. Okay, a number of bird houses that are actually above the value or the break even point. Okay, so that is basically the answer there for question 4.3.3. Right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video tutorial, guys. I hope that I managed to simplify all of these concepts for you guys. Question 4.3.1 A and B, where I explained what is a fixed cost, what is a variable cost, right? The fact that you guys need to remember, when you're talking about variable cost, we're talking about costs that change depending on how much you need to produce. Okay, but then when you're talking about a fixed cost, right, this includes all the expenses that are involved in the production of your product. Okay, so in this case, your fixed costs are the rent of the stall and the transport. Okay, those costs are fixed. But when you talk about variable costs, we're talking about, okay, the amount of wood or boards that you'll need, the paint that you'll need, and the sun dries that you'll need. That will basically vary depending on how many bird houses you will want to basically create. Okay, I explained what we talking about when you're talking about a break-even point. Okay, the break-even point is the point where your income and your expenses intersect. Okay, the point where the income and the expenses are equal. Okay, right, because we see at that point there, right, the income and the expenses are equal. So that is our break-even point, and that break-even point helps us determine whether your business is working at a loss or a profit. Okay, you can use that point to help you determine how many products you need to sell for you to make a profit, or how many products have you sold for you to make a loss. Okay, and I did mention that when we're basically doing a break-even analysis, we are basically determining, okay, we are basically using a graph to help us determine at which point a business makes a profit or a loss. Okay, so I hope I actually managed to explain everything, every detail for you guys in this video tutorial, guys. Please make sure that you are subscribed to the channel if you have made it this far. Please also don't forget to give this video tutorial a huge thumbs up, and also, guys, please don't forget to become or join our membership, right, and become a part of our Maths gang if you really appreciate the content that I am bringing to you guys. And I'll see you guys on my next video tutorial, guys. We're going to be looking at the last question. In the last question, we are going to be tackling the whole of question 5, guys. So I'll see you guys on my next upload. That is it, guys, and I'll see you guys on my next upload, Distance Learning with Lee, where I make learning mathematics super easy. Bye, guys.